So we just heard about keeping our seniors connected digitally. What about kids? The digital divide is having a very real impact on young people in this country without internet access. In the U.S., that's about 6% of our households. So right now, if you're a student in one of those households and you're not online, you're not learning. Jacksonville's PACE Center for Girls is well aware of this, and they're working to reach girls in this situation and get them connected in many ways. President and CEO Mary Marx is on the line to tell us about that. Hey, Mary.
Hi, Melissa. Thank you for having me.
It's so good to have you on the show. I can't say enough good things about the PACE Center for Girls in Jacksonville. You reach out to girls in our city's most vulnerable communities and do such great work. So as we've headed into this pandemic, you're really focused on the challenges of providing virtual education and other services to these kids, right?
Well, what we know, and PACE Center for Girls works with our state's most vulnerable girls, and we know that these are girls that have histories of trauma and adverse childhood experiences and that were already vulnerable prior to the pandemic. For example, we work with about 300 girls in Northeast Florida through our center in Jacksonville and our center in Clay County. And some of the vulnerabilities include 1 in 3 of our girls experience substance abuse in their home, and 1 in 6 domestic violence in the home. So as families isolate during this pandemic, many girls experience a threat where they should feel the safest, which is in their own home. And we know the Florida Department of Children and Families has reported a decrease in the calls to their child abuse hotline. And that's because 20% of the reporting generally comes from school personnel. So as children are at home and out of school, the greatest likelihood of violence, abuse, and neglect in the home that's going unreported increases.
Right.
So one of the things that we did is, we had to take an assessment because we knew when schools closed, we wanted to be able to not only provide academics, but to continue to provide the comprehensive wraparound social services these girls need, whether that's counseling, case management, or therapy. And so we did an assessment and found that across, in Northeast Florida, 1 in 5 of our girls had no internet access at home. And in Clay County, 1 in 4 girls had no computer at home. And in Jacksonville, 8 out of 9 girls had no computer at home.
Wow, that's quite a lot. And so how are you getting these kids connected?
So we were very fortunate in partnership with both the Duval County Public Schools and the Clay County Public Schools, and a number of our community partners came together and made sure that 100% of our girls had internet hotspots and laptops. So I cannot say enough about how great partners both of these school districts have been, because that is not what we've been experiencing across the rest of the state. And we work with 21 school districts, and only 43% of them engaged with us in making sure all of these girls had access, even though the girls come from the district, and once they complete PACE, will go back to the district.
What about virtual mental health counseling? Kids that are really suffering just psychologically right now from a host of issues.
It's so important because school is so much more than just an education environment, particularly for our vulnerable populations. It's a place that's both physically and emotionally safe for kids, but it's also a place that they have access to critical things like food, hygiene products, medical resources, and it's a way to connect girls and families to emergency services in their communities. But what we found, so in addition to using the virtual academic platforms that the school districts are using, we found a HIPAA-compliant virtual counseling, case management, and therapy platform so that we could stay engaged with our girls. And what we found is that since we've been working virtually, 98% of our girls have engaged with us at least once a week, and 73% of them are engaging with us 7 times or more each week. So they want to stay connected. They want to have that access to their counselors and their case managers and their therapists. and really are staying engaged. And that is not the norm that you're finding across the country.
Wow. So that's good. But that's good that the girls are reaching out and they want that connection.
Oh, absolutely. It's really hit home. I mean, the girls are, when we're working with them online, their counselors say they come online, they're wearing their PACE shirts. They miss being with us. Yesterday, we did a statewide Girls Leadership Council meeting through Zoom, which is all the presidents of each of the student governments coming together from across the state. So it's really some extraordinary work is continuing to happen because they want to stay connected.
Now, everything you're doing at PACE Center is a local iteration of trying to address a global issue, the digital divide. Lower income kids and households without adequate internet access are literally and figuratively left behind in the best of times. Forget about a pandemic. This is an ongoing socioeconomic problem we have in this country, right?
It absolutely is. I mean, these are girls and families who, prior to the pandemic, were suffering the consequences of racial and economic disparity. And we now recognize, particularly in this time, that access to the internet is not a luxury. It's a utility. And it's something like access to water and electricity. It's absolutely necessary in order to continue to operate in the world we live in now. And we cannot expect, most of the girls who are coming to us are 2 to 3 years behind academically when they come to PACE. And as a result of that achievement gap is real, and there is no luxury of falling behind. I mean, if we expect these girls to be successful later in life, this is our next generation of mothers and our next generation of workforce, they need access to the tools that will allow them to be successful.
I would encourage everyone to support the PACE Center for Girls, just an incredible organization here in Jacksonville, working for decades with the most vulnerable girls here in this community. So thanks for all you do. Thanks for joining the show. She's President and CEO, Mary Marx. Stay safe, and we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.